What is up? Welcome, Truth and Transparency. Let's do this. You guys are not going to believe this. We have another chirping bird. Happy Easter, everybody. Happy Easter. What is up? What is up? Did a lot of research, man. My notifications actually worked. That's what's up. Yes, happy Easter, everybody. Welcome to Truth and Transparency. Hope you guys had a great day with your family and you're choosing to have your nightcap with your second family. So I am going to be taking live callers tonight. I'm going to make some calls tonight. I'm going to call some people in Latah County. Wish them a happy Easter and ask them if they were one of 400 people that got hit with a survey. So, again, what is good? What is good? Boston. So, what did you guys have for dinner? Anything good? Some lamb? Did you guys have Mary had a little lamb? Okay. Well, just a recap here. The latest with the Bryan Kphberger case, it's really important because it's going to come down to the jury deciding if Bryan Kphberger is found guilty or is acquitted of these heinous crimes, right? Well, something that's happening and that has been happening over the past several weeks was the defense, I know, believe it or not, the defense hired an expert. His name's Bryan Edelman. What Bryan Edelman has done is he's been in over 100 cases. He's an expert, and what he does is he developed it's a survey. You more or less say it's like a survey, but he actually developed his own business and company. Let me get to the back part here. Here you go. He is the co-founder of Trial Innovations out of Los Angeles, Oakland, and LA. And I'm going to come in and I'm going to zoom in on that. And the reason that this is important is because all this pre-trial publicity, but like we've seen with the Nancy Grace show, like we've seen with other shows, what is being told to people, okay? It's one thing to talk about this case. It's another thing when it's just misinformation that is being publicized as fact. So I want to explain a little bit more about what it is that this guy and his team set out to do. And he makes it very, very simple to understand. And I broke it on down for even I broke it down. We'll just leave it at that. I broke it down even more so. And so let's take a look. Facts versus myths. For the record, you guys, anybody that's following the Delphi murders, Richard Allen, Judge Gall is the one that approves or denies the funding. Well, that's not how it's run over here with Bryan Kphberger's case. Bryan Kphberger's case, ever since January of 2023, his case actually goes through when anything that needs to get, like, for funding wise. So for the defense writing in like, hey, I want to have this guy, Bryan Edelman, as an expert, PhD, because we're going to do a change of venue. They're going to be going through Mark Monson, and he's out of Nez Perce County. He's a district judge, and he was appointed back in January of 2023 to be this resources judge. So Judge has nothing to do with when money funding. I think somebody did a public request to find out how much money to date has been spent in totality from the prosecution and with the defense on this case to date. And that is sealed. It is for the purpose to have a fair trial. So they told us that it was, Ann Taylor's making $200 an hour and Jay's making $180 an hour, but that's it. And that's all we're ever going to find out until maybe after, this case is gone to trial. So I really wanted to hit home with that. But Judge is not the one approving any type of funds. Now, this was a survey that is not just for Latah County. This survey was for Latah County, which was a phone survey, and it was sent to 400 people, which is 1% of the population. 1%. Not only was this supposed to go to Latah County residents, but then you're going to have a comparison with those results. So that means you have to have other counties in Idaho. And therefore, those other counties would then be the second, third, fourth, and however many counties that they're doing to then compare it to see, okay, is Latah County, what are we dealing with here when we're talking about the possibility of having this these prejudices, these biases. Now, when the defense hired this guy, as you will read in the motion, they talked about March 8th. It goes all the way back to that date that they all met. And so for the defense or for the prosecution now have this emergency reason to do all this. It's crazy. You should have had this emergency back on March 9th. So, but here we are. I wanted to know more about why would Bill Thompson be in an uproar? Well, what I've come to realize is that he looks like an even bigger idiot than I thought. And I think it's important to talk about this. Now, you guys remember the Aurora shooter. Sick motherfucker, right? One of the cases, this guy's done a ton, high profile, but he talks about, and that's one of the cases, State of Colorado versus James Holmes. And I just underline that for the specific purpose of, I was interested in noting out of all the cases he wanted to talk about, why he picked that case. It didn't change, by the way. It stayed where it was. But guess what? There was a jury pool of 9,000 people. Like 9,000 people were pulled for that. 9,000. So just want to say that. Now, I wanted to know what a community attitude survey was all about. What's a community attitude survey? Well, this is a new word that, thanks to this motion, I get to add to my vocabulary. Have you guys ever heard of the word attitudinal? Attitudinal. An attitudinal question is a special type of closed-ended question that's, let me just back out just a tad, that specifically assesses a respondent's disposition or emotional response to a topic. Now, you guys know how I feel about Nancy Grace and just the misinformation and just like, wow, where'd you get this shit from? Who are your sources? Well, what this guy did is he said that he was retained by the defense, and that he broke it on down, showed all of his qualifications, and then goes to number 3, which is the influence of attitudes on, pre-existing attitudes that don't even have to do with this case. It's an attitude, in and around just your attitude on something, specific. Again, I think I mentioned it right when I came in and said, I have another bird chirping. Any comments that can continue about that, please delete in the chat. They're disruptive and they're not necessary. Because if you don't think that I can hear it, I'm not fucking deaf, dumb, or blind. I think you are deaf, dumb, and blind. But take a look at this. Ready? There it goes. Over 269 articles were written by these three publications. The survey instrument, topics of focus, and questions were constructed after reading. So this guy, this dude, Bryan Edelman, the expert, he read more than 269 articles that referenced the murders in the Moscow Pullman Daily News, the Idaho Argonaut, and the Spokesman Review. That's all where this is coming from, which makes sense because that's what that area, that's their circulation. That's what those are their publications, right? So we're not even talking about mainstream media. We're not talking about cable. We're not talking about online. Well, unless they're going to be counting the circulations online, which they probably would, because those are seen. Obviously, they're put out not by just a newspaper anymore. They're, online printing material. So check this out. I said 269 articles, right? That this guy went through. And I said, okay, well, what kind of questions are we talking about here? All of the questions in the survey instrument, including the media recognition items criticized by the government, were carefully selected based on how persuasive each item was in the coverage. None of the media recognition items included any information that was not widely reported and available in the public domain. So right here, that would be when they cite the 16-footer there. So for example, they would say, this was a question. Have you read, seen, or heard if Bryan Kphberger was arrested at his parents' home in Pennsylvania? Okay. That's that was one of the sample questions. So I said to myself, okay, well, what type of sample questions, like what else are we talking about? So I went through and we're looking over these articles that came out of the Argonaut. Do you guys know that the one lady reported saying that she was from the Argonaut and she really wasn't, and she was at the presser? You guys remember that? I remember that. So I want to show you guys some stuff that I came up with based on my research. All right, so here, let's take a look. So have you read or seen or heard? And then number one, Bryan Kphberger. That is not supposed to be like that. With the S. Bryan Kphberger was following one of the victims on social media. Number two, have you read, seen, or heard Bryan Kohberger's vehicle was seen on cameras near or around the 1122 house? And that's plural. I mean, because like I said, these are close-ended. This is a yes or a no. These are close-ended questions, right? And I said to myself, why would you want to know if he was arrested in Pennsylvania at his parents' house? Because guess what that basically tells you in a sense, like how much you truly know about this case if you know that. Okay, if somebody says no, if someone says yes to that, like that's a pretty basic thing if you've been following this case. But if you really haven't been, I don't know where he was arrested. So would that be known to you? No, So you can ask a question, and really you're not interested in if they know that, because that doesn't matter. But what matters is their level of in-depth like them personally being invested in this case. So it's not a bad thing if you wouldn't know that or not, right? Bryan Kphberger's phone was pinging on the cell tower that 1122 King Road users currently or consistently during and around the time of the murder. Something along those lines. I'd want to know if you know anything about pings, anything about the cell phone. So in some type of way, I would want to ask a question about cell phones. I'd want to ask a question about his vehicle, right? I'm asking a question about social media following, stalking, right? Now, I went ahead and I was reading an article from August 22nd, 2023, and I had never heard this before, and so I got sidetracked. I was like, what the fuck is this? Because I never read those articles. I did all my own shit. So when I'm reading this shit, I have no idea. Did you guys know that in an article written August 22nd, 2023, they said, this is the title, Bryan Kphberger was dropped from high school police course after complaint. That was the title of the article. Did you guys know that? Bryan Kphberger, was dropped from high school police course after complaint. Then I went ahead and looked a little bit closer, and I didn't even realize this until today, that the Idaho Statesman is out of Boise. Did you guys know that? The Idaho Statesman is out of Boise. Didn't know that till today. Now, when I saw this, Bryan Kphberger was dropped from high school police course after complaint, period. It was the Idaho Statesman that actually did this interview, but then which one picked it up? Then the Spokesman Review, they have super strong ties to the Idaho Statesman. Okay. So basically, by including the Spokesman Review, you're basically including the Idaho Statesman without even including it, because so many of their pieces came from the Idaho Statesman. So you can just add that too. Now, did you guys know that Bryan Kphberger had a tummy tuck? Because he had all this excess skin that he had a tummy tuck. I'm being serious. I said, you guys go to this date, August 22nd, 2023. Now, who paid for Bryan Kphberger's tummy tuck? Bella, did you pay for Bryan Kphberger's tummy tuck?
What?
Who paid for Bryan Kphberger's tummy tuck?
He must have lost weight really fast if he needed that.
Yeah, but in high school, have you ever heard of somebody getting a tummy tuck in high school? I've heard of breast reductions, But in this article, I'm telling you guys how to go read this article. It talks about using drugs. It talks about how he had bleeding track marks. Okay.
Bleeding track marks where though? Like at school?
No, bleeding track marks like
what? Like who observed?
Yes, people that he associated with in high school and college.
What? Wow.
So again,
he seems more tidy.
So let's go to August 22nd, 2023. And this is this was the Spokesman Review. Okay, yeah, here we go. Okay. I want to get down to this part where I want to read. Okay. I want to know who Camilla Beers is, by the way. Camilla Beers. But Donna Yazawaka, whatever her last name is, Yazwaki, Kohberger's guidance counselor for most of high school, confirmed to the Statesman, quote unquote, how excited he was for the technical school's law enforcement focus. He wanted to explore that line of work as a possible career choice. She responded via email, by the way. Many students switch career paths. I was surprised, however, when he left MCTI in his senior year. Then she says, now, warning signs emerged after Kohberger joined the law enforcement program at the county's technical program, Carmela Beers said in the podcast interview. Quote unquote, there were some circumstances that led us to believe that maybe there were going to be some difficulties in Bryan's life that weren't going to ... contribute to him having an easy time of it, end quote, she said. Quote, it wasn't going to be just ending up in the police academy kind of thing for him. It was going to be a little bit more of a challenge for him to get there, end quote. The fuck? Now, here we go. They don't want to comment on what the complaint was about, but the other guy says that he can't remember a complaint. I think there was one in March. Must review Bryan Kphberger. But there was another one. Oh, here it is. An ensuing investigation took place into the incident. So this is in high school. Bryan Kphberger, now suspected of killing 4 University of Idaho students in Moscow, was kicked out of his law enforcement training program after a complaint was made about him stemming from an incident involving female students, according to a former administrator at the county's technical school. An ensuing investigation took place into the incident, which Tanya Carmela Beers labeled quote unquote pretty serious, but declined to detail in a podcast interview because of federal Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act protections. That led to Kohberger's removal his sophomore year from the law enforcement focus at Monroe Career and Technical Institute in Eastern Pennsylvania. He then switched to the heating, ventilation, and air conditioning program for his junior year at the half-day technical school, the Idaho Statesman previously reported. In February, Carmela Beers, who oversaw the technical school's student discipline and mental health, declined to talk with the Statesman about her specific interactions with Kohberger, now 28, who is charged with the 4 students murdered last fall. Instead, she spoke at that time about the general circumstances that could lead to students' removal against their preference from the technical school's law enforcement program, which had heightened requirements. This is what she had to say, quote unquote. Ultimately, what had him removed from the program, when I look back on it now, makes sense, end quote. The Idaho Massacre podcast, in light of the allegations, quote unquote, not knowing what I know, then yeah, you'd be like, I can't, I'm so shocked. And in that respect, I am, but then I know another little piece, which is the piece that occurred at the school. And so then I'm like, oh, but see, that makes sense.
Mhm.
End quote. Well, guess what, Carmela Beers? This is the type of pre-trial publicity that we are talking about. Tanya Carmela Beers. So you would have interacted with Bryan Kphberger as a junior, sophomore. Okay. And you're going to remember what this would happen with this kid back. So that had been 14 years ago. Okay. And you shouldn't have been speaking about any of this because it's against you already pretty much broke the Federal Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act protection. So, I mean, what the fuck? Anyways, when I was doing my research, I came across that. And then I came across Bryan Kphberger needing a tummy tuck, and then I just lost it.
Needing or getting?
Getting a tummy tuck. Then I came across him having track marks,
Well,
and it was just blood bleeding from his arms.
Probably had track marks, but I would think he'd be cleaner. Like his personality would be like a lot clean, like not let his tracks like a degenerate just run.
So I'm gonna Google Bryan Kphberger track marks.
What you are? I wonder what's gonna come up with.
Bleeding track marks.
Bleeding. I mean, you already know.
Okay, yeah, here it is. I found it. It's in the New York Post. All right. Yes, here it is. This is the one. Army veteran Thomas Arns, 27, told the Idaho Statesman. Okay, so it not only went to the New York Post, but this also was in the Idaho Statesman. Ready? In quotes, it almost seemed to me he had a desire to be the alpha, end quote. He always wanted to be dominant physically and intellectually, end quote. It says, Bryan Kphberger was an alpha bully who always wanted to be dominant. That is the headline of this. And now, again, this is coming from the Idaho Statesman. Okay. So Arntz remembered the now 28-year-old suspected stabber as growing up desperately wanting to be a cop, despite weighing more than 300 pounds. After his junior year in high school in Broadheadsville, Kohberger started running and taking kickboxing classes every day, losing at least half his body weight, the friend said. He lost so much that he needed surgery for the loose skin and developed an eating disorder that left the vegan hospitalized, his pals told the outlet. The data... I said, wait, what? It also made him all the more aggressive, said Arntz, who previously shared the same info with the FBI. Have you guys ever seen this shit? So then I said to myself, I'm taking my notes over here. Let me go to my board. I'm like, what the fuck? So, tummy tuck surgery. Arntz was interviewed by the FBI, but talking to the press. When was Arntz interviewed by the FBI? Kohberger got their boy into heroin. Wait till I get to this part. Bleeding track marks. 2011 couldn't fillet a fish. Not personable with customers. Okay. Now, yeah, like I'm not trying to be funny, but so I really wanted to focus in on these 269 articles that literally this is what this jury in Latah County, this is what they've been reading, you know, especially if they're not on YouTube to hear what we're saying and, you know, but this is their little bubble. Check this out. Quote unquote. For no reason, he tried to grapple me. Yeah. Grapple me, and put me in headlocks when I didn't want to. He tried to portray it as just boys being boys, but that's not the way I ever took it, end quote. As he alienated his circle of friends, Kohberger took up with a new crowd, heavily into drugs, the former friend said. In quotes, honestly, I feel he was looking for validation, and that's why he fell into that crowd. Arndt's 29-year-old sister, Cassie, told the Statesman. See, Statesman. And honestly, it's why he fell into the whole drug scene. At least 2 of those friends later overdosed and died after a string of drug busts, the report noted. In quotes, I think drugs goofed Kohberger pretty bad. Another one-time high school pal, Jack Bayless, said, quote unquote, he was having a time. He'd tell me, I'm clean now. I'm totally clean now. And he'd have bleeding track marks on his arm. I had to read that. It was like, I'm totally clean now. And he'd have bleeding track marks on his arm. One of his then drug buddies, Rich Pasqua, 31, previously told Fox News that the accused murderer, quote unquote, was a big heroin addict. He didn't have many friends, so he would do anything to fit in. So let's say that you hate, you're anti-drugs, right? And you have this preconceived, fuck people, one of your family members was, died of an overdose or got hooked on drugs because of their boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever. This is the type of stuff, though, that you would have a preconceived, subconscious opinion of Bryan Kphberger because of this alleged drug behavior and abuse and use. Kohberger also spent time in rehab, according to Casey Arndt's, who shared a message from 2013, the year Kohberger graduated, accusing him of tricking her into driving him around when he was secretly buying heroin and needles. He literally used me to get it, she told the Statesman. I was freaking out and not happy. I had heroin in my car and didn't even know it. And then they were like, they put the fucking screenshots in the paper. Wild. Once clean, Kohberger reportedly told friends that he, quote unquote, only used heroin when in a deep suicidal state. At some point, he said, don't ever bring it up again. We're past that, Bayless told the Statesman. Despite the heroin use and bullying behavior, Kohberger's behavior never suggested he would one day be accused of the high-profile murders of University of Idaho students. No bells ever went off, said Barbara Tokar, 58, a neighbor of Kohberger's childhood home in Pennsylvania, whose daughter was also one of his classmates. While a criminology student at Washington State University, just 10-minute drive from the murder scene. Why do they keep saying this is just a 10-minute drive? That is prejudicial. It is not a 10-minute drive from fucking Pullman, his apartment, to that campus. If any of y'all can do that in 10 minutes, I'll give you $500. JLR couldn't even do it in 10 minutes. JLR, I'm sure, was cruising. Now, Kohberger was busted at his family home after driving back to Pennsylvania for the holidays. He was quickly extradited to Idaho, where he remains in custody charged with 4 murders. Where is it that this girl was like, he selling drugs to all of our kids and got them all into heroin? That's in one of the other articles. Anyways. So again, I was just taking my little notes and I just came across this and I just got derailed because I was like, God, 269 articles, and I can only imagine what they say. Now, I want to point to what was interesting. Bill Thompson acts like this is not like something normal. Then I went ahead and looked at all these cases. This dude, just alone himself, in this declaration, He states 50 cases. 50 cases. A couple that were in Idaho. And when I saw that, I was like, Jesus, like they do it all the time, especially like in death penalty cases. That's why I believe that he talked about the Holmes case, by the way. But right here. Now, again, this is this guy's declaration. This is not Ann Taylor's words. These are Bryan Edelman, the expert. This is his words. To successfully win a change of venue motion, the defendant needs to demonstrate that the media coverage has generated bias in the community that undermines his or her constitutional right to a fair and impartial trial. The standard method for measuring prejudgment and fixed opinions within a venue is a community attitude survey. There is no other accepted scientific method for doing so. By preventing the defendant from completing this survey, the government is impeding his ability to collect the data required to meet his burden. I can't even meet my burden to show that I deserve this, okay? Will the government then criticize the change of venue motion for failing to demonstrate widespread bias and fixed opinions in Latah County? The survey design methodology I used in this case comports with surveys I have presented in numerous other cases, which other courts have found to be valid and objective when considering the need to change the venue. For example, in California versus Quentin Ray Beeler, the court granted a change of venue largely based on findings from my telephone survey, which were cited throughout. Dr. Edelman appeared to use a measured, objective analysis of the basis for a change of venue. The Beeler court also found me to, quote unquote, be an experienced expert in the area of change of venue. In United States versus Sablan, the court concluded that, quote unquote, the potential for influence creating bias is apparent as reflected in Dr. Edelman's survey. Indeed, Dr. Edelman's survey shows actual bias in more than half the potential jury pool. Now, pay attention here. What Bill Thompson went ahead and did this emergency motion ex parte. He was like, you are tainting our jury pool. 400 people. Now, this is this guy. This is not Ann Taylor's words. This is not Jay Lawson's words. This is this expert, Bryan Edelman's words. He said, the notion that polling 400 community residents, which is 1% of the Latah County population, 18 and over, is the cause of potential bias in a county that has been saturated with hundreds of highly prejudicial newspaper articles, television news stories, and social media posts is not credible. Unlike the media, individual residents do not serve as a communication channel for disseminating information across the county. There is no evidence that conducting the survey has had any impact on the master list of prospective jurors or potential veneer in this case. The survey in Latah County has already been completed. So what I mean by that is that, or what he means by that is that he's already done everything he needs to do in Latah County. What's coming next is this part, but you've halted it. It is my opinion, unless the government is willing to concede the point and waive the issue, that it is necessary to complete comparison surveys in alternate venues. So we've already conducted our surveys in Latah County. And since this is why I'm going to be making some phone calls, is because once I realize that they already have completed this, then I'm going to call. So the survey in Latah County has already completed. It is my opinion, unless the government just is willing to concede the point and waive the issue, which is, okay, change the venue, go ahead, that it is necessary to complete comparison surveys in alternate venues. This is the only method for demonstrating that there are counties in Idaho that are significantly less biased against the defendant than Latah County. That's it. Okay. So they took 400 people, so 1%. So Bill Thompson rushing on over and saying that you have now trampled all over prospective you know, the jury pool, that this has to cease immediately. Well, it's already over in Latah County. The people that they would be going and needing to still reach out to finish the demonstrative live survey are like Boise, are like so however many counties they're going to compare this to then show like, okay, this is what these people think in this area. This is what they deem as fact. This is what they know. This is what they don't know. This is, so you're going to take that and then you're going to compare it to the other counties and just say like, okay, look at, you know, everybody thinks this, or look at this area doesn't know anything like about this, or, but then when I thought about it and I saw that's why it's important for me to bring this up again, the Statesman is located in Boise. So that area was getting pumped. Like they're reading the Statesman as well. So I think that that was interesting. Now, why you would need to do this just blows my mind. What happened between March 8th and March 19th, right before Bill filed his, let's see what the date was. On March 22nd, the state filed a sealed motion for order prohibiting further contact with prospective jurors absent leave of court. So they filed, so March 22nd. What the hell happened between March 8th and March 22nd that Bill Thompson went damn apeshit? Because on March 8th, they all met. And then they were supposed to meet on March 21st, but Bill Thompson already engaged the courts. But they knew that they were doing this they knew they were doing this on March 8th. So when I hear the word like emergency motion to have this ex parte communication, why didn't you have it on the 9th, the 10th, the 11th, the 12th, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19? I want to go back to something, guys. You guys know that Bill Thompson is basically the person that's been, when you want to talk about pumping out information. Let's take a look. Pulling up my Bill Thompson. What is up, guys?
Don't know as long as they need to.
I ended up sitting down with Bill Thompson in his office. And
Again, commending her. Amazing job. Kudos, girl. Or I'm sorry, Court TV's
office. And
again, commending her. Amazing job. Kudos, girl. You were part of the broadcast, and I'm hoping that you had to do with some of the production, because I felt like Lou, the left.
Going to solve this. And it was one of his answers to me that made me think they know a lot more than what they're saying. Would you feel safe having a child living near or on campus?
I would, but I say that knowing that many people would not. And I'm probably in a, I'm not probably, I'm in a different situation because of the information and the knowledge that I have of how the investigation is progressing.
Coming up, weeks go by without an arrest.
Just your mind.
Right there, Bill Thompson says,
Or on campus?
I would, but I say that knowing that many people would not. And I'm probably in a, I'm not probably, I'm in a different situation because
Bill Thompson's in a different situation. You may not remember Kaylee's parents. Kaylee's sister came out and said, you have to get your kids out of campus. People were just, they were murdered in the middle of the night in their homes. They were sleeping. They didn't do anything wrong. There's a crazy person out there, yada, yada, yada. Get everybody off campus. Now, Bill Thompson says, I am in a different class than other people. I have information that none of you guys have. And due to the information that I have and that I possess, I would send my kid to campus, to school because of the information that I possess. You understand that? At this point in time, he's saying that he has information that none of us have. And because of the information that he has at this point in time, he could send his kids or kid to campus and know that they're going to be okay. Now,
because of the information and the knowledge that I have of how the investigation is progressing.
Coming up, weeks go by without a
ready. Next up. That was Court TV showing us this interview on their production. What I went to is next up is me to show you. Okay.
Would you say that you guys have a suspect in mind or a person of interest in mind?
To my knowledge, there is no specific person who is a suspect at this point. The investigators have explored a number of people who might have been persons of interest and have essentially cleared each of them through the investigation, and they're still working through that process.
In your experience, this amount of time doesn't necessarily mean a case is going to go cold.
Absolutely not. We've had homicide cases in our county over the years that have taken sometimes years to solve. I hope that this is not one of those.
Would you say that you guys have a suspect in mind or a person of interest in mind?
To my knowledge, there is no specific person who is a suspect at this point. The investigators have explored a number of people who might have been persons of interest and have essentially cleared each of them through the investigation, and they're still.
This is going to burn him. This date was Bill Thompson in his blue. His hair is over his glasses. He has his vest on. Vestibula. Okay, he has his blue on. His beard's the same. His hair is over. He's in his, now this is Creme 2. So when you're going to do interviews, you allow multiple people to interview you, like, because you give it up to, normally you want to be fair. Okay. So, but the difference here, the only one thing that's different is that Creme 2 put a mic on the, backseat Bill here. They mic'd him up. Okay. That's the only thing. There is no pin. He's in his blue. Okay. Now, Get that date, girl. What's that date, B? December 1st, 2022. See that? December 1st, 2022. This was a lot. All right. December 1st, Had to go back to it.
2022.
Now check this out. Okay. This is Creme 2. This is December 1st. Now, this is just when they did this. It does not mean that that's when this happened. Okay. This is when this YouTube broadcast was put out, was December 1st, 2022. Keep that in mind. Now,
That's a question that's still out there. And I know they're working on that. We're trying to assist them. Believe so.
Considered persons of interest.
all right. I'm going to play a little bit of it.
That they had ever seen. Yet somehow there were two roommates who were in the house who apparently didn't hear anything. What are the red flags you have there? And are those roommates considered persons of interest?
Well, anybody who might have knowledge is considered persons of interest at this point. As far as suspects, I don't believe so. The investigators continue to work hard trying to interview everyone who might have any information and hopefully figure out and identify what occurred and why and who's responsible.
As we understand the timeline, and we recognize that this is an investigation very much ongoing, the four came home, early in the morning, Sunday morning, let's say 1:45, 2 o'clock in the morning, something like that. The 911 call didn't come until midday the next day. Does that raise any red flags for you? How do you explain that?
I think the investigators are trying to ascertain why there was a delay and what actually occurred, what was heard. That's a question that's still out there, and I know they're working on that. We're trying to assist them as much as possible with obtaining search warrants for data and cell records and social media and anything that might help.
Do you know who called 911? Can you reveal who reported this?
I can't reveal who made the 911 call. The police do know who made the 911 call, though.
Obviously, we don't know anything about motive, but the mayor did initially refer to this crime as a crime of passion. Why did he say that?
I can't speak for Mayor Betke. He, to my knowledge, there is nothing to indicate that this has been determined to be a crime of passion. We know it's just a horrible crime, and 4 young lives have been lost.
And finally, initially, investigators and the police had said the community has nothing to worry about. Now they've sort of said, well, of course we should be vigilant because there is a suspect or suspects still at large. What is your message to that community this morning?
Well, I think the fact of the matter is that whoever is responsible for these murders is still at large. The investigators do not know who that person is. From what they've told my office, they believe that this was what they call a targeted attack and not just a random act of violence. And I think they tried to communicate that, but obviously that communication didn't work very well.
Okay, ready? Investigators don't know. Watch.
This is what they call a targeted attack and not just a for these murders is still at large.
To that community this morning?
Well, I think the fact of the matter is that whoever is responsible for these murders is still at large. The investigators do not know who that person is. From what they've told my office, they believe that this was.
Okay, the investigators do not know who this person is. This was on, again, not wearing the same thing. He has his vestibula on. Okay, he has his lapel here on. And it's November 17th, okay? November 17th, he does the Today Show. He's wearing his vestibula. He's in his office. He is not wearing the same blue shirt, okay? So this is clearly not the same day, okay? Investigators do not know who, investigators don't know. Okay. Hold on now. Now, here we go. Going to the last exhibit 3. Exhibit 3. Exhibit 3. Here you guys go.
What they call a targeted attack and not just a random act of violence.
Oh.
And I think they tried to communicate that, but obviously.
Sorry, that was not what I was supposed to click. Hold on. My bad. Okay.
I would, but I say that knowing that many people would not. And I'm probably I'm not probably, I'm in a different situation because of the information and the knowledge that I have of how the investigation is progressing.
Coming up, weeks go by without an arrest.
Just your mind has to spin like, okay, what is going on? You know,
some people can commit crimes, and there is no justice for that family.
What the families and public did.
Okay. So now, I wanted you guys to see that one last time. Okay. Again, this is from Court TV last night. Do you see what Bill Thompson is wearing? Okay. Are you guys ready? Bill Thompson says that he would send his kid to school because of what he knows. He is not like other people. He knows things. And due to the knowledge that he possesses, okay, due to the knowledge that he possesses, he could send his kid to school because why? Well, I know who fucking did this crime. We already got eyes on this motherfucker, right? Now, the question is when was this episode? When was this episode? Right? Have you guys ever seen this part of this interview? Now, if you follow Twitter, and you follow the Chanley who did this episode, this special, if you followed her Twitter, all right, you would have to go all the way back to none other than November 20 motherfucking 9th, when she sits with Bill Thompson in his office and has this conversation. This conversation on November 29th is the same day that they moved all the vehicles from the house to a remote location. It's the same day that at 12:23 a.m. So technically not November 28th, but November 29th. Okay. Because it was 12:23. They found Bryan Kphberger's car, right? And it's like, how did you find Bryan Kphberger's car, right? It's just, no. It's, we just were going through this blah, 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 and we just found it because of blah, blah, blah. Motherfucking no, you didn't. Boom. Y'all found his car because y'all already knew it was Bryan Kphberger because of the fucking IGG. And so I could put, like I said, the IG motherfucking G before you found his car. Boom. Take it on home, Ann Taylor. I just helped you out like you wouldn't believe. Right there. Bill Thompson wearing that outfit. Chanley doing the interview on November 29th. Nobody knew about a damn thing. Except for the fucking prosecutor, okay, who was so active in this investigation that he came out here and he said, I would send my kid to school. Why? Because I possess information that none of you guys have. And what's that, Bill? You knew it was Bryan Kphberger on November 29th, didn't you? That's how you put shit together. Boom! Mike, drop that shit. Run it back 5 times. You saw it here first. Court TV, I cannot thank you enough.
It could have been off. It could have been.
Ass. Boom. Where is it? When she was like,
For the defense is that his phone did pick up signal before the murders and after the murders.
Another significant coincidence, for those who believe in coincidences, I don't, is that there's this white car that's driving around and around at the time of the murders, close to the scene of the murders, caught on video. And guess what? The defendant, the suspect, the accused, what does he drive? A white Elantra.
The car is driving around, but then suddenly during the window of the murders, we don't know where this car was.
This car still has not been on any camera. We've never seen this car. We've seen stock images of this car. They are going to this is where Ann Taylor's hiccup is with understanding their logic. This is Bill Thompson's problem, is that he needs to keep this in Latah County. Badly. Because I personally believe that a ton of the misinformation was being pumped to the residents of Latah County. The mayor saying it was a crime of, I mean, all the stuff that, you know, they were the first ones to ever even hear about this case, you know. But Billy cannot lose his venue. Billy can't lose his venue. But I almost feel like the Latah County residents are fed up with the police in that area. They know how they play. I'll tell you, Christ Church knows how they play. Get some of those people on the jury. Okay? But Bill Thompson can't lose his venue. Bill Thompson shouldn't be ex parte communication because of this all those days later. To say that you have an issue now. I would send my kid to school there because I know stuff that you don't know. But in the same breath, he's saying that investigators don't know on December 1st who's responsible for this. That I'd send my kids to school there. I crossed him up. This was back, I did this episode in November of 2023. And now let's take some I want to take some of your guys's, hit the link, talk anything you want. Idaho4 related, and then I'm going to be making some calls, wishing some happy Easters out in Latah County and asking them questions if they've received any, if they were part of the telephone interview, or would they participate in one if they weren't already. But again, if you click the link, come on up. You'll have your minute to 2 minutes. Make yourself known. Ask anything Idaho4 related, and or say what you feel like. I know people have all sorts of opinions on this, but all opinions are welcome so long as they're respectful. I think the only one right here.
We don't know where the car. Identification of the Hyundai Elantra as like the suspect vehicle, that's a problem.
Another part of the case against Bryan Kphberger is an eyewitness account. Dylan Mortensen, one of the surviving roommates, she told police that she saw a man around the time of the murders dressed in black, bushy eyebrows, wearing a mask covering his nose and his mouth that walked past her down the hallway.
And then we have Dylan, surviving roommate, and she's so afraid that she goes back in her bedroom alone.
Listen to this.
In the kitchen area, dressed in shorts.
What's up, Mr. Lux?
Hey, what's going on? Can you hear me good?
Yeah, I can hear you. How are you?
I'm well. I always have volume issues when I call in. Okay. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm chilling. Enjoying my day.
Okay, that's good to hear. Happy Easter.
Happy Easter to you too. Good to hear from you.
Yeah, so much has happened in this case. But I'm glad. I'm glad. I think it's looking good. I mean, I think it's looking good for him. I mean, that's not what I was hoping. I'm not saying it like that. Oh, I'm hoping that. Oh, it's looking good for Bryan Kphberger. But when you look at it, right, they already have the IgG, and when it comes down to it, I think once you got somebody's fingerprints, it don't matter. You're gonna have a positive match. You know what I mean? So I don't expect nothing from the IgG to come back like, oh, this was the wrong person or we made a mistake, and we don't even know yet because the experts haven't even looked it over. And they haven't finished examining the evidence yet. But I don't even think it's the IgG that's gonna be the thing, because what it is touch DNA. So I can go on your doorknob and put a whatever tape, however you snatch touch DNA, however they grab it. I can just go on your doorknob right now and grab your DNA and put it on anything I want. And here I say, oh, Lena did this, Lena did that. That's how simple that is. You know what I mean? And that's a crazy problem. That's a serious problem for the prosecution. Am I coming off too loud?
No, you're good.
Okay, good. That's a crazy problem for the prosecution. And now when I'm thinking about it, it's like, you know what? When I heard what Ann Taylor was saying in court was really shocking to me, because remember, alibi deadline, if I'm not wrong, was March 16th. So basically what she was trying to, what she was trying to say in court was that based on, I guess, the coordinates or however they do it with your cell phone, I think she was waiting on the cell phone evidence, because I think her experts is telling her something about the coordinates, about the way, the location, how he was the GPS position or however, you know what I mean? But that's what she was stating in court. And so I guess she kept emphasizing that, oh, your experts is gonna prove my my client's alibi. So that means that they know that maybe that, and remember, they were late in presenting that evidence with the cell phone thing. You know what I mean? With the cell phone coverage.
They still haven't gotten that into her.
They still haven't gotten that into her. That's the only thing they haven't gotten into her.
They haven't gotten that. Oh, a lot of things. They haven't gotten a lot of things, but also this whole master, the footage that they relied on all this stuff for, it's in chunks. It's not even whole. There's a lot. There's that survey, the cast report. They had to work backwards. I mean, it's clear as day. They worked backwards from that, and they're trying to piece together based off of that sheath. And I think for me, I want to know how jurors are going to feel about 3 other unknown male DNAs being there, and they did nothing to try to figure out who these DNAs belong to, because they clearly weren't friends, because they were, people were coughing up their DNA, coughing up their phones. So where are these other DNAs located in the house? And they're clearly males, unknown, and you just did nothing.
And I'm gonna keep it short, Lena. If we're talking about reasonable doubt, we already have reasonable doubt. If we go to trial right now, the fact that there's no DNA in this guy's car, it's impossible to do this crime. Anyone with a common sense, you're gonna sit in front of a jury. Any jury with a common sense is gonna say this guy having no DNA in his car, and it's hard to clean out evidence. I mean, DNA, period, blood, period. This guy having no DNA in his car, is a big problem. We already have reasonable doubt. But I think what Ann Taylor is so good with this case, people think Ann Taylor's doing a bad job. I think she's doing an awesome job.
I think she's fine.
I think she's doing a great job. I think she's trying to put the case away to the point that there's a ring camera issue as well. I'm gonna keep it short. There's a ring camera. They haven't provided that. There's an issue with the ring camera because it captures some footage of certain things that she wants as well. And so it's the ring camera. It's the I'm not even worried about the IgG because that's just touch DNA. I don't even think she's just gonna have her experts look at it. But I think the main thing is gonna be that GPS with the cell phone coverage. It's gonna be a big thing because I think that she's pursuing that so much that that's her alibi. That means the experts could pinpoint. Remember, they said that the FBI could pinpoint his location based on the cell phone.
You should be, if he was using apps, like if he had, let's say he had a Google account, and so he had the Google app where you get like your emails right to you. That's usually GPS. Like you have to go about it and would have to know how to shut off strategically all these different, whatever you had on your phone. There's it's geofencing. There's GPS on stuff. And in 2022, we're at the height of all of that. And to think that there's just nothing, you shouldn't have to use and rely on cell phone pings in 2022, now in 2024. You should be using the actual GPS of these apps, and I can't imagine him not having any apps on his phone. And if they're saying, well, he shut his phone off, so we weren't able to track him. I was told there's still stuff that you can track when your phone is turned off. So I just think for them not to be, for Ann Taylor to have to be putting in 15 supplemental discovery requests, it's par for the course because I know that's how Idaho works. They didn't give her everything.
And Lena, you took the words out of my mouth. These apps, I'm gonna end it with this. These apps, every time you download an app, I don't know if you have the iPhone or if you have an Android.
iPhone.
You have the iPhone. I have an iPhone. I'm talking to you on an iPhone. When I download anything, it asks me, do you want this app to track you or not? That's the first thing that any app asks you.
Yeah, or push notifications. It wants to know if it could send you notifications. And if you agree to push notifications, then when you're getting actually like a text from like Temu that says like, oh, we have this thing that you were looking at now, it's 75% off.
Yes.
That text in itself, like you just don't realize, boom, right there, you got tracked.
All right, Lena, have a good night. And
you're the best. Happy Easter, buddy.
Happy Easter to you.
Okay.
Don't eat too many candy.
Oh, I won't. I'll try to stay away.
All right, good night.
All right, bye. I love him. What's up, Miss T? Welcome to the transparency.
Hi,
I'm just
Lana.
going in
How are you?
order. Hi, good. I got Janet next and then Sally next. So I saw you guys pop up and I just put you in order. What's up, Miss T? What do you got to say? Idaho4. Happy Easter, by the way, too.
Oh, it's a happy Easter to you too. I'm just getting over a cold, and I'm like, I'm gonna call up now that you opened your lines here. But something interesting I just want to share with you. I'm actually a paralegal. So I currently work in personal injury, but I've worked in criminal law. So I can't disclose any case information because of confidentiality and stuff like that. Apologies, my cold. But an interesting thing is a case I was working in the past at the firm I was working at for criminal defense. Actually, we had a case where our client had been accused of a murder. There was an informant. There was witnesses who allegedly saw this murder. And there was also elements of some of these witnesses allegedly helping dispose of the body. Only one person got charged for the murder. The informant did not. The witnesses that allegedly saw it and the ones that allegedly helped with the disposal of the body did not either. So there's about, I would say, 3 to 4 people that were actively involved in it, and only one person got charged. So with that being said, what I'm thinking personally myself, I'm leaning towards an informant. And I don't know if you remember, I believe the Bloom article where they talked that Steve Gonsalves was trying to talk to a witness who was protected by the FBI. So all this kind of links to drugs, and the case that I'm talking to you about, that my firm was linked to drugs as well. Everything was sealed as well and redacted heavily. So I'm thinking, like what most likely happened is after the crime happened, an informant probably went and said something, right? And the thing is, informants have, a lot of immunity. So it's like, so how can the prosecution necessarily say that that informant was not involved somehow and wasn't basically put up to the task? Go talk to law enforcement, pin it on Bryan Kphberger, right? I'm kind of like heavily leaning towards something like that happening, right? And then how does it look if they provided immunity to an informant who has active ties with criminal activity in the area, right? So that's kind of what I'm thinking about. I'm like, that's what basically, and again, because I've seen it in my field of work. And the case I'm telling you about, this was a bench trial. And the person got found not guilty. However, because a lot of it in the state I actually work in, everything's sealed. So once a person gets acquitted, then everything's sealed in the record. So basically, that's why I can't really give a lot of information because, again, it's sealed and I don't want to get in trouble, right? Because I'm still working actively in this field. But it's like interesting stuff I've learned working in it. And then that case and then the fact patterns as well kind of remind me a lot of what's happening with the Idaho4 case. And I think it's they basically trusted the word most likely of an informant with criminal ties, and now they can't backpedal, right? It's like, hey, we put this out in the front. It's such a big, humongous case. We cannot backpedal and say, oh, it might not be him. He could have been set up. Personally, I kind of feel maybe, it's like the 6 degrees of separation. Maybe he had ties to people that knew the roommates, right? And what I've thought it for a while, I was like, I think there's possibly 2 people they were trying to set up for this crime just based on a couple of things. And, the whole heat of passion kind of killing and the whole calling of Jack DeCour, like at 2 a.m, I started like thinking, I was like, isn't it possible that maybe if Kaylee and Maddie were killed earlier and they're, a lot of these face IDs sounds morbid, but you can hold it up to someone's face and unlock the phone. What was it like, if they were calling Jack to kind of lure him over and then kind of do something to him and make it look like, a crime of passion, jealous ex-boyfriend went off and killed people, right? And then my thought process is like, if that fell through, they had, BK in the back kind of saying, hey, come over, we're partying, this and that, right? And maybe that's why BK isn't saying anything either, because maybe he was involved in some things as well. We don't really know. But I don't think,
I think what you just said right there is like, we don't know. I think that's actually everything right there. Like, there's so much to this case, like, that we don't know. And when you just see people talk about this case and they're talking all this stuff and you're just like, where are you getting this from? Like, none of this is fact. You know what I mean? Like, you're hosting these shows and saying this stuff. I just look at the search warrants and what they were going after. And they were just so early. They had nothing. They literally had nothing, and you could tell that. And then you just how all of a sudden did they get to where they got? And I think that's just where Ann Taylor's like, none of your earlier reports that are dated in these earlier like days leading into like the weeks and boom, week 7, that doesn't add up to that you got to Bryan Kphberger. And you can say IGG, okay, great, it's a tool, it's a, but even once you still got that, you're still striking out on a bunch of other things. And that's just, everyone that I've asked in the field of IGG says that you would go out and get that person's DNA to then test it too. Test, what you have. So they've never seen it done this type of way. So that's all that I can just say. Like what I've asked people is that you go and you get, if I come back and say, hey, you need to look into this person, or this family, you go and you obtain those people's DNAs to then check it against your sample. And I just find it very, very interesting that they weren't able to obtain that man's DNA to test it based off of like he goes into a room and he teaches. He has an office. You weren't able to track him down when you knew about him on November 25th to 29th. He didn't leave for another how many days to December, between the 13th. You have all those days, and you wouldn't go and try to obtain that man's DNA in 13 days to test it against your, what you have. I can't get I feel like there's a reason that they let him go to Pennsylvania. And it's like they're muddying their own waters. They try to muddy their waters so much. Like they're involving all these agencies, and they're involving, crossing the lines. And now we're involving not just agencies, but we're involving other state police. They're talking about that he was like a fugitive or something, by him leaving, and why would, and then he leaves with his dad. And it's like, what are you talking about? It was Christmas break. It was winter break. He wasn't fleeing, I can't wait to find out what the date on that flight was. When did his dad make the flight arrangements? Was that something that was planned? You would think that that'd be something that would be planned out,
Yeah, a couple of months in advance at least. So
yeah, even just like a little bit, like that. Hey, I would just think that it'd be something that. So I'm curious to know when his dad got that plane ticket. I think that would be relevant.
Yeah, but like last thing I'm gonna touch upon really quick is like jury selection, right? One thing I never worked on was voir. So basically what I'm hoping happens is, because unfortunately I think the juries nowadays with bigger cases, a lot of them are more moved by emotion than logic. When you even look at Alex Murdaugh, right, the case, there's there's jurors that came out and said, I kind of felt like forced to kind of vote a certain way. It's like they're moved by emotion during that moment, and then afterwards they're like, oh crap, I shouldn't have done that. But it's too late at that point. So like what concerns me is just getting a jury, right? And that's why like I advocate like so much, like people that follow your show and other shows that are at least have some knowledge of the law.
Yeah, I try.
Should serve more on juries, because you're moved more so by logic than societal need to find someone guilty. And that's what worries me so much about this case. So I'm hoping like when she starts, asking questions of potential jurors in the future, I almost feel like, especially with defense attorneys, they have to kind of ask a couple more questions to kind of find people that are truly open, because it's easy to say, oh yeah, I have an open mind. How about getting jurors that have had family members that have been on the defense side? How about asking questions like that? Like, hey,
have you ever been a defendant?
Yeah. Have you ever been a defendant? Have you ever had a family member or friend go through this process? What are your feelings? Things like that. Because then, those people that have been through it, or who have had family members that have gone through it, will be more open, right? So that's my hope, is that she'll think a little bit outside the box when it comes to
I think that she will. I think what's showing me that she's actually doing that is, going out and getting these experts. You know how many experts she's already has obtained during all this pretrial stuff, that we're not even to the trial yet. I mean, and she's gone out, and how many experts does Bryan Kphberger have already? Yeah. If you just, she's doing her shit. I bet Richard Allen wishes he could have that type of defense.
I donated to him, by the way.
That's awesome.
And that was like, thanks to you, actually. I was watching your channel. And I also watched Defense Diaries. You should really try to team up with them at least once, because Bob Mata is amazing.
Yes. He's been on. I had him on here before. I love Bob.
Have you? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So I don't want to take too much of your time.
You were great. Thank you so much, Miss T, for clicking the link and coming up here. And I hope you start feeling better.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. You have a wonderful day and great Easter.
Okay. Yeah, you too. Thanks, love. Oh, see, look at all these great souls. Okay, Janet, and then Sally, you're next. Hi, Janet. Welcome. Happy Easter. Are you there, Janet? Oh, you're muted. If you unmute yourself, you should be good. Oh, wait, are you there, Janet? Hi.
Yeah.
Oh, hi.
Can you hear me? Hi.
Yes. Hi. Welcome.
Happy Easter.
Oh, happy Easter to you too. Thank you.
I want to just say, well, you're probably sick of hearing this, but I want to say I love your show.
Oh, thank you.
I didn't sign up right away when you first came out and all that happy stuff because I didn't realize what a good show it was. I was hung up on another one. So, but I'm glad I watch you now on a steady basis
Oh, well, thank you.
because my philosophy and your philosophy is the same. I have a background in law enforcement. I was a private eye for a lot of years, and
Thank you.
I still do
Thank you.
cases from time to time. But I got to say, I have a problem with this case, just like everybody else does. I just see is this we have just turned into peoples that have they're just such a rush to judgment.
Yeah, you're right. That's a great word.
And how you go from innocent until proven guilty. It's just something that you say because you were somebody told you you had to say it. It really has no meaning to you anymore. And so, but then in the next breath, you're calling somebody a monster. How would you like to be in bed with this guy? And they flash a picture of Kohberger.
Yeah.
What the hell is that about?
Yeah. I honestly can't believe that she's able to do it, you know?
So it makes me think about that young woman that allegedly her child was drowned in the swimming pool and she got a top-notch lawyer and she got out of it. She was the most hated woman in the whole world, I think. The lawyer took her to his house because he's responsible for her. People wanted to kill her after she was acquitted. And was it Jodi Arias?
Yeah, I think it was her. Are you talking about the
Yeah.
bathroom one?
Yes.
Yeah.
No. Wait a minute. The one with the little girl.
Oh, Casey Anthony?
Casey Anthony. That's the case.
Yeah. Yeah.
This case kind of reminds me of that. And I think, you know, if Ann Taylor got
the
this
pretrial.
guy off, where the hell is she going to take him to protect him? Because the media has destroyed this guy.
Destroyed him. 100.
And everybody who goes to bed at night only remembers Nancy Grace on national television going, this monster,
Yeah.
this name calling. Nobody
Yeah.
sticks to the facts of a case anymore. They name call. What kind of...
Yeah. And that's why I did that live the other night when I had a blaster, because I'm like, not only that was her that was misinforming people, then everybody that she had on panel was just, it was all misinformation. I'm over here like, I cannot believe what I'm hearing right now that you guys think is fact in this case. And this is why Bryan Kphberger is and Ann Taylor, they're motioning and saying, we want to change a venue, because if this is what people think, you know, in the mainstream media, imagine what they think in the little area of Latah County. And I know some people now that I talk to pretty regularly that are Latah County residents, and they say, yeah, right, go, you know, talking about this case. It's like, it's kind of what Dave told me. This is like an unsaid thing. You don't talk about this case. Like they have the, you know, they found the guy, boom, boom, that's it, you know. And to hear that, how can anybody, you know, that's not where anybody should have a trial. Like, even if he's guilty, you know, even if anybody's guilty, like, to say that we don't talk about it, you know, even though things are not as what they seem, because people, they're getting, I don't know if the correct word is going to be like blacklisted or whatever, but you're shot. People are tattletaling if you're talking about this case in some other type of way that it couldn't be Bryan Kphberger. People are like telling on you, and they're telling on you like law enforcement. And then these kids are literally being watched, they said, and they're like, all of a sudden now the FBI is showing up and people's places are getting raided. It was, you know, it was just like just wild, just absolute wild. And here you're looking at a case that was like, you didn't have a prayer to solve this case if it wasn't for this IGG saying the name Bryan Kphberger, because nobody else said it. There's no evidence against him. There's you know, that sheath, right? And then, but nothing else. So like, there's just one thing that sticks out like a sore thumb in the big scheme of things, right? And then but nobody wants to talk about any of that, you know. And I think
I was
so well.
I'm sorry.
Oh no, you're fine. Please speak. I think it's obvious when you read the motion that Jay put in when they say that Bryan Kphberger is just expected to not ask questions about how a placed sheath has his DNA on it. And that was like perfectly said. Like it was like the defense is telling you guys they believe that was placed there. And they didn't use the word planted. It was placed there. And because they didn't want it to come back, it's like, that doesn't mean that law enforcement placed it there. A lot of people could have placed it there because you have all this time that house was open to anybody before the 911 caller called 911.
Yep.
Anybody could have put that there. So it doesn't mean that they're
He could have
accusing
brought it
law
home from the
enforcement.
restaurant. How do
Yeah.
you know that he wasn't in there eating that day and he said, hey, I found this on the floor here just to turn it in, and she took it home because she wanted to give it to her boyfriend?
Yeah. Tons of things, right?
You just don't know. There's possibilities. People do weird shit all the time,
Mhm.
you know? And so, but to say, I think it's planted, because unless that thing is soaked in blood, with the amount of blood that was in that house from those victims, if they were
Mhm.
killed the way it's been alleged, as an ex-law enforcement officer, I know what to expect. That sheet better be dripping with blood. Never mind it has this on it or that on it. It better be dripping. And when three other people are with you on that sheet, they better be in jail too. And then everybody can talk about who's connected to who, when, what, where, how, and the whole 9 yards. And I can tell you where this comes from. I worked for a dirty little town, is the only way it can be described. It has a terrible history in the Western world. So that's not like I'm besmirching someone's character here. And everything, like the chief owned the hookers and the town was owned by the mayor and this, that, and the other thing. That's the way these little towns are run, because the people there have been there 30 years. They all went to school together. They all shook hands together. They all are related together somehow. They married into the family, out of the family, whatever, but they're together. Okay, so what that tells you is everybody's had each other's back for a long time, and there's a narrative that goes along with that, Lana.
Yeah.
And when new people come in and outsiders, I'm going to put that word in quotes, outsiders come in and try to tell them how to run their town, you got a horrible thing that happened. You got a mayor who calls the chief of police and says, solve it. I don't care what it takes. I don't care who we got to call, but solve it. Because I got 65,000 people ringing me up on my phone, and I want this solved. They went out and they got the first guy available. Everybody else was leaving town, or everybody else maybe had an alibi. Okay. Bryan Kphberger, you know what? I live alone, Lana. God forbid.
A lot of people do.
If something happened and I say, well, I didn't talk to anybody. I just been in my house for the last 2 weeks. So what? I go out in cuffs and I become it because I'm available. Bryan Kphberger, I can guarantee you, made some people angry up at that school.
I think he did too.
And I think they arrested him because of what he knew, or what his mouth, because he might be borderline Asperger's. We don't know. Look, he's going for a doctorate. Those people are strange, okay?
Amen, man.
I got a degree in psychology. I know. I went to school with people like that. So you got him, and maybe he doesn't get along with people because he's got his nose in books all of his life.
Yeah.
That's how he survived in his house, okay? The whole family's in psychology, so it just makes sense to me that he would be too. But that's neither here nor there. So they go, hey, look, this guy's going to turn us in for our illegal activity. So let's bury him. There's the answer. We'll go after him.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what happened. And I think that's why they struggled so hard to hide what they have, and have made Ann Taylor pull teeth to get it.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're full of crap.
Yep. And you know what?
Anytime you got a prosecutor who can't hold turn over a fast report, that's bullshit. You know that they're up to no good.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with the assessment. I think that all of that 100% is plausible for this small town, and I think that you know, like I said, I'll always give parents passes on how they do things. Nobody knows how they're ever going to react in such a situation like this. But I think the bias there, though, that an outsider kind of came in and that we're going to let someone come into like Idaho and do this, and so I think that really kind of biases the jury to like hear that this isn't an Idahoan. This is somebody that thought that they could come to Idaho and do this to one of our own. I think those are really prejudicial words.
Yep.
And like I said, like I love the Gonzalez family, but I think that those words right there are very, very, those are highly prejudicial.
Oh yeah, and and here's what there's a thing in law enforcement, and I don't know if you're familiar with the term. It's called it's a response that people get when they spit something out of their mouth. That it's like a whoops. I didn't mean to say that. It's kind of like when when BK said, "Anybody else been arrested besides me?"
Yeah, and we don't even know if he really said that. You know what
Right.
I mean?
It's called spontaneous admission.
Yeah.
Okay. That's the term. Okay. So I listen to people. And so I hear a mother who loses a child, and I'm not singling anybody out here. I'm just putting it out there. But I listen to a mother who buries a child who says, I'm not going to go to the court proceedings because nothing would have changed if we go. The narrative wouldn't have changed if we go. What the hell does that mean?
I don't know
Think
what that
about
means.
that. Think about that's what she said on national TV on Good Morning America.
Yeah, like maybe to say like the ending wouldn't change. You know what I mean? Like her son's still dead, type of thing. But the narrative, that's a very interesting word to use. I would never be talking about anything as like a narrative.
Well, when you say a thing would never have changed, it means the narrative, the story that's being told would not have changed in any way.
Are you talking about the Chapins?
Yeah, is that their last name? Easton's parents?
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of a strange.
Well, I think it's strange to go to Crime Con and not go to your kids.
And then when they're so proud of the foundation that they set up, but the first award went to their own child.
And I think that was who. Like, I mean, I can't fault the family for that. That's what the school did. You know what I mean? The school gave that away. But I think that kind of just goes to show like how you just keep that cycle going.
There you go. So everybody's tied in together, aren't they? They seem to have like bundled up. If you when you see something tragic happen, take a look at the camps, the enemy camps. Mm-hmm. And that's what they are because they're all fighting against one another. So watch who bunches up together.
Yeah.
And then don't look at what everybody else is talking about. Look at what everybody else is not looking at.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what always makes it so much easier to solve a crime. And so this is where I get the idea that perhaps all these people are connected in business, and they are, because the prosecutor graduated the same time the judge did, in the same year, from the same college. And they've been doing business together for a long time. And you got Ethan's mother, who's alumni now, and an educator. And so everybody's buddied up in that camp. But the Gonzalez's are totally destroyed.
Yeah. I know that they just want justice, you know. They want the truth. They want the truth.
Right. But they're acting like a family who is affected.
I think they are affected.
They are. That's what I'm saying.
That's what I'm saying. Like they should be angry. They should. That's what I'm trying to say. Like however, a family, like I'll never I don't know what it's like. I hope I never have to be in their shoes, geez. But I'm saying that's why families are always going to get passes with me in terms of, what they do or what they say, or, how they want to grieve, or how they want to, like, you don't know what it's like. And 99.9% of us don't know what that's like. And so I try not to, judge where, but I have compassion. I have empathy for all, all of that. But there's no reason to judge them. Yeah, there's no reason, in my opinion, to judge them. I just think that, that I know that I think that Steve and Christy would not be, they're not closed-minded to think that X, Y, and Z couldn't be possible, or X, if stuff can come out. But I also think that,
see, I think Steve was pretty level-headed, because way back when this first happened, he said, well, this guy, when he's talking about BK, when he was first arrested, he said, well, maybe this guy, yeah, he followed my daughter on Instagram or whatever. She's good looking. Look, there's everybody in the world would be arrested if they turn their cell phones in. There's a Hollywood star. There's somebody who's got a picture of a good looking man or a good looking woman on their phone, because maybe they want to look like them and want to show it to their people,
hairdresser.
Their hairdresser or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So BK might have Instagrammed them. Big deal. Why are they making a big deal? Oh, here's proof that he knew them and he did this and he was stalking them.
Well, that's the thing, is that didn't even happen.
It doesn't. Everybody knows if you hit follow that it says following. So why are you screenshotting a picture of the girls on BK's phone when it isn't even hit? The button's not even hit yet. It says follow. It doesn't say following.
Also, he didn't have to follow any of them. They were all public. That's the other thing I think people are not understanding, is that Bryan Kphberger did not have to follow any of them. They were all public profiles. That's why we can all see their stuff, because all of those people had public profiles, and nor was it his account. And I've tried to speak this, that is not his Instagram account. And anybody who put that out there and gave that and made it seem like it was his Instagram account, shame on you. It's not, and I can prove it like 5 different ways. But I believe Ann Taylor when she says that there's this missing link to the students, because I don't think that Ann Taylor has to lie in terms of why would I lie and risk my career? I don't have to. I'm going to defend this guy within the law. I don't need to go lying. So there's no reason that Bryan Kphberger had to follow any of these people when all of their accounts were public. You don't need to follow them. You can see everything. You can see it all.
That's right. And he's a single guy under the age of 30. He sees some good-looking girls. I would like to know how many people have clicked on their profiles or have them. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
when you go public, you're right. How many people have your picture?
Well, the other thing that I think is interesting is that they want to then say he's reverting back to the 1984 way of stalking, which is he's going to go and drive by their houses 12 different times in this period of, however many months they were there, just because he was pinging off of a cell tower. Now, until you show me an actual geofencing that you can put him, like what I did with the Brian Drake cases, put him right outside the house, put him, at the Queen Apartments, put him in that King Road neighborhood on like a geo-tracking, geofence, GPS, anything. But when you want to sit here and tell me that you can put Bryan Kphberger pinging on a cell tower that 25,000 other people can use, I'm going to laugh at you about that. That is not. Well,
it's a town that's 4 square miles. Give me a break. You could stand anywhere.
And then you tell me that, he pinged on the phone tower on that Monday, but we don't believe that he was there. Well, I want to hear more about why you don't believe that he was there. Do you know where he was? Do you have him on surveillance somewhere else? And you're just like, he never.
No, that blew me away. That blew me away when I heard that. Yeah.
Well, it's the reason they have to do that is because they're supposed to be putting in stuff that's when you're that could be technically exculpatory. So I believe that they had to put that in there because it kind of blew up their spot a little bit. Because they weren't using any of the IGG stuff, you know, and they're relying on this data. Because if you go back and you look at the, you know, these warrants, that's the other thing I want to know is I want to know how they obtained some of the search warrants, because judges aren't signing some of that stuff. Like, you just don't get search warrants for historical data on nothing. And
I'll
they
bet
pretty
you
much
don't have money, Lana. I'm telling you, just as sure as I know that I'm me. And anytime I say that, I am always right about this. They got the only guy in town, the only sheriff in town that was a danger to something that's going on there, and they booked him. And they booked him before the IGG. They were on a crunch time. That was the big, oh, we got to get it. We got to get it. Is it going to get in time? Boy, if they find out that we booked him and got a warrant and we didn't have a right, it's the fruit of the poisonous tree. You're damn straight it is. And I think it's the fruit of the poisonous tree. The only question I have is one, and you're the person I got to know this from. Because some things I just don't know. So you have to give me a pass.
Okay.
If your phone goes dead,
Okay.
like they say, Kohberger turned his phone off. How do they know his phone just didn't go dead?
They didn't at the time. You would need to get his phone, cell-right dump his phone, and then have a expert go through the cell-right dump, the different versions. And if you have a good one, they will be able to tell you if that phone was powered off, if that phone was in sketchy, you know, data area and didn't have it. If you have a really good phone expert, they could tell you when they're using the phone, if they're turning it vertical or horizontal. But again, if his phone was connected to like iCloud, I think he had, if I'm not mistaken, I want to say he had Android. I don't think he had iPhone.
Okay.
But they should be able to tell if he shut that phone off or if it powered off because it was dead.
Well, even if he did, how do you know he didn't shut his phone off every night at that time?
Yeah, I think that. Well, I'll tell you this: I was in Idaho, and I'm telling you what, I had the worst service. I mean, I'm not going to tell you my provider. It's one of the three, though, that that was part of this. It was either Verizon, AT&T, or T-Mobile. It's one of those three, and I had shitty service. I also I tried to go live a couple different times, and you saw how choppy it was. And I was live right around that house, and it was choppy as shit. And I think it's really interesting. Why don't you guys go take a look and see how much money the universe, or that area, rather, Idaho, how much money they got in grant money to do this whole, in 2021, to do this whole, it was to take over all the getting all the cell towers, so that they had this ridiculous coverage. We're talking like, I swear it was like $670 million.
Oh my God.
Go take a look at that. And it's like, if you look at it, it was a big old thing. But here, I'm going to get to Sally so that she can be my last call. But Janet, but I want you to call back in because everyone really enjoyed hearing from you. Okay.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Lana.
We love your passion.
Okay. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, hon. You're a sweetheart. Thank you so much.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye. Oh God. Tell Janet thank you for her services to ex-law enforcement. Still does some work time to time. Love all of our callers and subs and members. Sally, come on. Hi, Sally.
Hello.
Thank you for being so patient. I'm so
no
sorry.
problem. Happy Easter.
Happy Easter.
Yeah, I spent 6 years in a convent. I know about being patient.
Oh, you're a sweetheart.
Yeah, no problem.
What do you got for me?
Edwards.
Oh, she did good? Yeah, she's a great one.
Janet did well.
Yeah, Janet was great.
Yeah, I liked how Jay also said about the sheath being placed.
Mm-hmm.
And my thing is, how did they get his DA onto it? Did they have to go to his file at Pullman, the university, and actually get his DNA and place it on the sheath? You think?
Um, for me, I would want to know how active he was in the lab that he worked in, and if he had
Mm-hmm.
access to, like, if he was doing like lab work like that. But he was a teacher there,
Yeah.
TA. He had his own office there, so they would have had access to that because that's not his. Anybody could have
His
gotten in that
authority,
office.
yeah.
Yeah. But if he was working on anything at that lab, if he was doing anything over, you know, I, I'm curious on the whole, what he had access to, and with any of his classes or whatever he was working on, what he was, his DNA like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because I do believe it's his. I do believe it's his.
It has to be almost.
I don't think there
Doesn't
was
it?
like a mistake or something. I don't believe
Okay.
that.
Mm-mm.
But I think it was his. But I think that with nothing else being there, then that becomes a huge, like, that's out of place now. That should have been the return on that. The return on that's not there for me. You got his name from the sheath. Okay, great. We're using great, technology, IgG. Okay, great. You did that. But then all of the other returns, I hope to God that we see that in trial.
Mm-hmm. Here's another thing that's been on the internet, that he gave Bethany the knife for protection, so he knew Bethany, and Bethany dropped the knife sheath when she found the bodies. That's what's been spread around another website on the internet.
I also think it's interesting when you want to talk about how clean and crisp the knife sheath is. It's almost like it's a brand new one.
Uh-huh.
So I'm interested in to see what that condition is of the
That's true
sheath.
too. Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious of the condition.
Yeah, it could. Well, he wasn't in the air. The cops only checked about him buying the sheath for. I'm sorry, I shouldn't call them cops. The policemen.
Call
Yeah,
him whatever.
yeah, but no, we've still got. My brother-in-law was a policeman for 27 years, so I've got to show some respect to the law enforcement agencies.
Absolutely, we have to. I'm the
Yeah.
same way.
Yeah,
I'm the same way. I give praise where praise is due, and I'll give you shit where I think shit's due.
Oh, yeah, basically, and there's a lot. What? Okay, my backstory is I was disabled from my mother's womb. I have cerebral palsy, but I do have
Okay.
I have a BA in history and political science. I always wanted to be a lawyer, but I started
Aw.
having trouble with my eyes when I graduated from school. Then I went to the convent, and then I went to the convent and stayed 6 years. And by that
Oh.
time, my eyes have gotten even worse. So I knew I couldn't get to law school.
Aw.
But anyway, well, I found a man that had CP worse than me. We were married for 18 years, and I've been a widow for almost 10 years now. And I'm 65, so I've seen a lot of life.
Okay.
But anyway, what got me the most, when they first arrested him, they started doing the thing that he was disabled, and he gained a lot of weight, and he had snow blindness and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like some people with disabilities do have a lot of snow blindness because of how their brain is damaged because of this disability. Because I also worked for one of my school projects while I was trying to get a degree. I was going to be a teacher for the disabled, but they wouldn't let me do my teaching,
Okay.
school teaching, so I never got my teaching degree. But anyway, a lot of the disabled people have snow blindness as one of their characteristics, because when you have any brain damage, it can affect my eyes. Well, anybody's eyes. My eyes are affected. I've got nystagmus. I don't have the snow blindness. I just don't have real good I can't always maintain a focal point. So I may be looking straight at you, and people are bothered that my eyes might not always focus on there. So
Okay. Well, you're fine.
yeah, but no, no. A lot of a lot of people that interviewed me for jobs said, why, after they interviewed me, why didn't I look at them? But I did look at them as long as I could, and I had to refocus because that was one of my problems with my eyesight. But anyway, I just hated how at the beginning of the thing, a lot of people were bringing up all his so-called disabilities. But boy, that man did a lot. I had to Kohberger that he succeeded a lot with all his situations.
Yeah.
You know, he made a lot of himself. And I don't understand why I don't know why people would pick on him.
I don't know why people. I don't know why people pick on people. Period.
Well,
yeah, I agree. I think that if the evidence is there, the evidence is there. You don't need to make it anything more than what it is. And I think when your case is lacking, like I believe it is, maybe that's what makes it so difficult. Though, like we don't want someone like Bryan Kphberger to get away with this, because he's such this is such a heinous crime, and we know that he did it. We just can't, like people say all the time, it's not what you can, it's not what you know, it's what you can prove. And is this one of those cases where it's like this guy is really smart and he really did plan this out, and he did X, Y, and Z, and if the IGG wouldn't have hit, like really where would they be? And I think that they would be absolutely nowhere. So if it is in fact Bryan Kphberger, we still have to do things the right way.
Both ways, yeah.
And I think that even when cases are hard and cases are complex, that does not give us a pass to be and to do things like savages. I'm sorry, but it doesn't. In fact, it's when you got to do things even, I should say like more with a microscope, just because if Bryan Kphberger knows how things work, he's probably over there telling Ann Taylor what he wants to do. Like, hey, I want you to file this. Hey, I want you to file that. And guess what? If she doesn't do those types of things, then and there's communication that's been had, and he expressed that, and she's just not doing those things. That's ineffective assistance of counsel. So I think when I look at this case and you look back at all these motions and the different ways they want to go about it, I 100 think that Bryan Kphberger is involved in his defense.
Oh, definitely. He would have to be.
And I think that he's telling them, that he's innocent. I think that he's telling them that he's innocent. And I'm just curious if it's come out as to, okay, you believe that you're framed, right? And why? Why does anybody frame anybody? Like, how do you pick and choose to say, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to frame this guy, Bryan Kphberger, he's nobody, and we're just going to pick him up out of the air. And I don't believe that you would just pick somebody up out of the air, So it's
okay. My question is, what happens if he was a minor player, like he was a driver for one of the people that had to get there, that stabbed the people? Would he get this? Would he be playing? Would he be going for a life sentence anyway?
If he was like a minor player, like
yeah,
no, I know. I think
one of them, one of the killers to the place.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's where like people start talking. They say like, "Hey, you tell your lawyer that all this stuff," and then your lawyer will be like, "Well, let's see if we can do X, Y, and Z."
Okay.
That's where like the whole deal and stuff would be talking that, hey, I can explain that sheath, and I can explain why there's no blood in my car, and there's nothing tying me to anybody. Okay. I can explain some things. But
so do you
it's, I think we need to go back and ask ourselves why, when they would have, why did they come out wanting us to come forward with like this whole white Alonso? Like they already had Bryan's name from IGG. They already had all that shit. They had, all the information on his type of a car way before that ever came out in December 7th. We have to go back and ask ourselves. They said that they wanted to talk to the person that was in that vehicle. They wanted to talk to that person. Remember? Yeah. They wanted to talk to that person or people. So my question is did they ever attempt that? That's going to come out. We're going to find out if they ever tried to attempt to talk to him. I'm curious of that. I'm truly
okay. What happens if they did try and talk to him? They pulled him in, but they didn't use the body cams or cameras in the place where they interviewed him at. Would that have been illegal to do?
Yeah, nothing is illegal to do with that. It would look shady. I mean, you have all these
Okay.
other things on cams and recording devices, but when you interviewed Bryan Kphberger, you know, you didn't.
It would be unethical, not illegal. Then basically,
Yeah, it would be like that's where you ask the jury to see that type of stuff when you're.
okay.
That type of stuff will come on at trial to be like, so you did an interview, but oh yeah, like the Richard Allen case right now. Oh, but you just lost these recordings. Like you how that's gonna look to like the jury.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm on the jury, I have a problem with it. You know, some people on the jury, they're just like, oh, that was just a coincidence. I'm like, well, I think that you're a fucking idiot for thinking that, but. But you're not going to be able to persuade me when we're back in the deliberation room. I'm not going to be like, yeah, it was just a coincidence. I'm going to say like, no, it's a problem.
Mhm. How many people were on the grand jury? Was that 16? Because I know 6 people had a problem. That wasn't enough to say it wasn't good enough. They still got the forms to arrest him at. So put him in jail for it. But if they only needed 2 more people to say they didn't like how it was going and they couldn't have arrested him the first time around? Was it that close?
I don't know. So much stuff has been sealed. I'd have to relook at that to see.
Okay.
I know there was questions about stuff, and I know that certain people didn't.
Okay.
I think we'll get more of that at trial.
Well,
I do want to I do want to say this. So me and Bella were looking at how long it took certain death penalty cases to go to court, and because we were trying to see, will this trial really start in March or in the summer? Bella says no way, and I said I only say yes because of how adamant they are, this judges and everything. But that Aurora shooter in Colorado that happened in 2012. And that was a death penalty case. And there was tons of like motions being filed in that case. If you guys go and look at it. And then he went to trial though in April of 2015. Okay. So again, that was a death penalty case. And he ended up being spared the death penalty by 1 or 2 votes at that stage. But there was the verdict came back August of 2015. So if you do the math on that, it was like 3 years from that was the Dark Knight Rises, the Colorado Aurora shooter.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah, and the reason I wanted to compare it to that case is just because of all the tons of pre-trial publicity, obviously, but the motions. There was so many motions that were filed in that case that kept it like prolonging it. But it was 3 years. It was 3 years that when it came and they actually had the trial. But the expert that did this change of venue, he's the same expert that did that Colorado shooting to compare some stuff. He also did a couple of Idaho cases. He's done like 100 of them. I was just really, really it's a really good read about because there's stuff in here that doesn't even have to do with it's what your triggers could be, if they're going to be talking about Bryan Kphberger and saying X, Y, and Z, and is that going to like trigger something that is going to prevent you from being able to even consider evidence, or are you going to already have this subconscious? What was the word that they used? The wording we were looking at. I just did a lot of research on it today because I thought it was interesting. But basically, the best part I thought about is that these attitudes that each of the jurors are going to bring to the table independently. Then you're going to ask them to go and then collectively deliberate. And it was about during the deliberation stages when you really feel the effects of the jury and their preconceived notions on things. That these attitudes, there's no way that based on these links in attitudes, the defendant is going to be at a disadvantage because there's no more of this you're presumed innocent or proven guilty. That's not even a presumption of innocence is gone. And this just diminishes the prosecution's burden of proof right off the bat. And so when you think about it like that, when you think about you're taking the prosecute, you're making it so much easier to prosecute this case because no more is there this you're undermining the presumption of innocence, and then we're already diminishing the prosecution's burden of proof. And when you put it in and say it that way, it's like, holy shit, you really are. Like your burden has become as a prosecutor, you're all the way down here because of the way that your jury already thinks about certain things. And like I said, it has nothing even to do with the actual like murders. It could be about something that would happen in their own personal life that Bryan Kphberger and his personal life that they clash on. So that's where I think the interesting parts lie, that you can't even subconsciously be able to debate something that you are just already not even willing to consider. And yeah, cognitive dissonance. That's it. Cognitive dissonance. So Google that word.
It's kind of like confirmation bias, but it works both ways.
Oh yeah, it does. Like there's certain ones that'll trigger me that wouldn't trigger 3/4 of the population.
Yeah.
If you get talking about people with mental illness or post-mental, things will trigger, and you don't even realize it until it hits you, and it says that I'm mad and I'm not listening to anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
No, it's just interesting. That's why I was reading about all this other crap. If they want to bring up like, drugs and tummy tucks and I don't know, just like all this other stuff that you don't even know, like is. If I already think something is true, like I'm never like that's just you think that you heard it in trial. Then it's crazy when you read this shit, but it's so true. It's crazy.
Brian would have had to have a tummy tuck because of how much weight he lost. It was just he lost half of a man. When he lost all the weight, it was like, excuse me.
He lost half of a manhood.
Half of a man. I didn't say his manhood. I'm not getting into David Loach's territory.
I just had to throw in some humor there at the end there.
Okay,
Bryan Kphberger losing half of his manhood. Thank you so much, Sally.
You're welcome. You're
a good gal. You too.
I can't use your chat anymore because I got a new phone and I don't actually pay for the new phone, and because I don't pay for the new phone, I can't get on YouTube's chats anymore.
Oh well, email me. Maybe we can see if we can help you with that. There's got to be a way we can figure that out for you.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, thank you.
Okay,
I don't have my email though, Lana.
You don't have my email?
I don't think I do. Should I?
Okay, well, I'm gonna write it in chat, and then that way you can write it down.
Good. Oh no, write it next. I've got to turn off my phone because it's almost going to die on me. So
okay, I'll put it in the community page.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, thank
honey.
you. Okay, bye.
Oh, there you go. I pinned it for you too. Oh, give it up for Sally. You guys are all great. Yeah. As a result, jurors will either ignore this evidence or make cognitive efforts to refute it. It's called mental gymnastics. That's what Bella wants to call it, and I'm going to go with it. She's like, yeah, that's when you have mental gymnastics, Lana. And I was like, okay, what do you think about that? She's like, it's real. This evidence will not establish strong links to pre-existing attitudes and will not be easily accessible during deliberations. When a venue has been saturated with pretrial publicity, these psychological processes can put the defendant at a significant disadvantage, undermining the presumption of innocence and diminish the prosecution's burden of proof. The prejudicial impact of pre-existing attitudes is, oh wait, I have one phone call I need to make here. Latah County. Well, I'm gonna make 5, but
Hey.
hi, I'm calling. Are you a Latah County resident? I'm doing a survey for the Bryan Kphberger case. You're a Latah. You're a Latah County. Yes. Okay.
You know I am.
Okay. Well, I have you here on Truth and Transparency, and I have a couple questions for you.
What?
Yeah, I want to ask you some questions. I know that you live in Latah County. Now, question number 1. Are you a member of the Christ Church?
No.
Okay. Question 2. Question 2.
I love you.
This is
Happy Easter.
I love you. Happy Easter. I got these questions already. Here we go. Ready? It says, have you ever read, seen, or heard if Bryan Kphberger was arrested at his parents' home in Pennsylvania?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Okay. Let's see. Have you ever read or heard that Bryan Kphberger had a tummy tuck?
No.
Okay.
What?
Have you ever read or heard or seen that Bryan Kphberger was following one of the victims on social media?
No.
Okay. Number 3. Have you ever heard, read, or seen Bryan Kphberger's vehicle was seen on cameras near or around the 1122 King Road house the night of the murder?
No.
They've
never proven that.
No, but have you ever heard that?
Yes.
Okay, you have to answer the question, not what you think the question is.
No.
Okay, number 4.
Am I on like your live?
Yeah, number 4. Have you ever seen Bill Thompson's strum a guitar?
Yes.
I moved to strike this juror.
What?
No, I'm kidding. Okay. Have you ever read, seen, or heard Bryan Kohberger's phone was pinging on the cell tower that the 1122 King Road house utilizes?
Yes,
on 12 separate occasions.
I've heard that.
Okay. Number 5, whatever number we're on. Have you or anyone that you love been a defendant in a criminal case?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Have you or anyone that you love died from a drug heroin overdose?
No. Thank God.
Okay. Have you ever read, seen, or heard that any of the victims were pregnant?
No.
Okay. Have you ever read, seen, or heard that Bryan Kphberger was fired from his TA teaching position?
What? When?
Have you ever read, seen, or heard that Bryan Kphberger was fired from being a TA at the University of Washington State University?
No.
Okay.
I think.
How many miles is WSU in Moscow, University of Idaho? Is it more or less than a 20-minute drive?
No.
More or less?
Less. Sorry.
Okay, less than a 20-minute drive?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it more than a 10-minute drive or less than a 10-minute drive?
It's about 12 minutes, maybe.
Is it a 12-minute drive?
Something like that.
How fast do you drive? I'm just kidding. Hey, happy Easter, girl. I was just practicing on my, my survey that I'm doing here for 1% of the Latah County community to see if we could stand trial in Latah County if it was biased or not.
I'd say it's biased. Yeah.
Do you think it's biased?
If I was to stand or he was to stand?
If he was to stand trial in Latah County, do you think that Bryan Kphberger would receive a fair trial?
No.
No. And you are a resident of Latah County?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have an opinion as to why you don't think he would receive?
Yes.
Do you care? Do you care to share any of those?
That he would get a fair trial? Well, yeah, because anyone I talk to assumes he's guilty because they haven't watched you.
So they already, so you just believe like a lot of the people in the community already, like they just assume he's guilty.
Yes, and I've talked to people in high places.
Okay. And so there is no innocent until being proven guilty over there.
Unfortunately, no.
Okay. Man.
In my opinion.
Man. And now I think that you have a very, very good, I think you have a fair opinion.
And I think I have I have a pulse. Is that what you say? A pulse on what's going on? Because I've talked to people.
Yeah.
I'm careful what I say.
Yeah.
To people. They think I'm crazy.
If you were to say that you think that Bryan Kphberger might be innocent, are they like, have you ever said that in public?
Do I think he is? Or do people think he is?
Yeah. Have you ever heard anybody say that Bryan Kphberger is innocent?
No. No.
Okay. Well,
except the people that I love.
Well, Ann Taylor's going to go ahead and we're going to move this. We're going to move for juror number 1 here. We want her. We accept her.
Is that me?
Yeah, juror number 1. We're going to try to get you in. And then here's the state. We're going to use one of our peremptory challenges. She's gone.
Wait, what?
You get a couple of those, they don't even ask questions. They're just gone. Are there any Black people in Latah County in a certain specific area? No. So not that many Black people there?
No, but I know a few of them. They're my friends.
Okay. Are they registered to vote?
Yeah.
If you could just make sure they can get down there and register, make sure to register to vote. That'd be helpful for
Oh, I'm registered to vote. You were calling. I just had a glass of water.
I love you. I just had to call you to end my night, to end my live. I wanted to have one of my favorite Latah Countyans.
Hi, everyone in Lana Oriani land. Truth and transparency. I love you all.
Oh, we love you. And then I'll give you a call back, or I'm going to end the show. But I wanted to say Happy Easter on a live, as well as ask you some survey questions. You did great. Oh yeah. Wait, hold on.
Honored.
I have to. Do you subscribe to the Moscow Pullman Daily News?
I follow it on Facebook. That's it. I would never spend any money on
Okay.
Facebook because it's very biased.
Okay, and then how about
I comment a lot.
Okay, so and then how about the Idaho Argonaut?
I get it in my email. Subscribe to it, so I read it when it comes through. Sometimes depends on what they're talking about.
And so, how do you feel knowing that the volleyball coach was just put on leave?
I'm very happy about it.
Me too. Okay, good. I was following that. And then the last one here is: are you in the circulation of the Spokesman Review?
No.
Okay.
What do you mean in the circulation? No, I don't follow them. They're very biased.
Okay, they're just okay. And then the Idaho Statesman, anything there?
No, I don't follow them, but I wouldn't trust them. I don't trust any of those mainstream.
Okay.
papers.
And
But
then,
I'm
so where do you? This is not a closed-ended question. So, where are you most likely to feel like you can get the best, most factual information as it pertains to anything news related in your area?
Good question. Nowhere.
That's fair. Okay, sounds great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
No, love you, girl. I'll call you back here in a few.
Okay, I love you.
Okay, love you too, baby girl. Bye. Well, that's juror number 1 for us. All right, you guys have been great. I'd love to hear more of her opinions since she lives in Latah County. Yep, I've been hollering at some hoes in Latah County for the jury. You're losing me my jury. I'm gonna watch that tonight. Please, I wanted to spend my Easter night with you guys. Now I'm gonna go upstairs and I'm gonna watch Runaway Jury, and I want all of you guys to watch Runaway jury. Also, I'm going to end this by saying I got ridiculous coverage coming this week from Florida. I'm going to try to have a sit down with Jose Baez because I want that exclusive with Shanna Gardner. I want to know if she hired anyone to kill her husband. I want to know how crazy Mario is. No. A lot of cool things coming up in the next couple of weeks. Going to be on the grind. Going to be live a lot. Please consider donating. They up the amount for Richard Allen to get more experts. I'm pushing for them to get Scott Roeder. So if you could spare any bucks or just share it. Share that new link. I love you guys. You guys are great. I loved all the callers tonight. I mean, I'm telling you, you guys are a very special bunch. You guys are smart people, fun people, witty people. You know, you guys like to joke around and all that good stuff too. So thank you. Share the video, use the chat or the comment section, and let me know what you think. Like, I thought that maybe Bryan Kphberger to keep it in Latah because people in that area knew, about there's corruption there. But maybe it needs to move, I don't know. Do I think it has a chance to move? Well, yeah, I think that Bill Thompson's really, really concerned about it. So I think there's something up there. I don't know why he's so concerned, but whoo. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Happy Easter, everybody. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Great show tonight. Do this more often. You mean my Sunday nights? Or you just like this layout? And then thank you, moderators. You guys are the best. That fucking bird up there, man. I'm going to kill it. I can't find it. All right, guys. Peace out, Girl Scouts. Be kind. Over and out.